If you struggle in close guard at jiu-jitsu, then try this mini game. We've got 3 different technique videos based around this arm drag. Let's look at a basic armbar setup for beginners in jiu-jitsu. So we're going to start from a close guard. He's got both his arms on my hips. From here, I'm going to grab one wrist, and this is the arm I'm going to be attacking. All right, so my other hand is going to reach behind his tricep. Then I'm going to wrap my fingers around here, and I'm going to drag this across. If he's being heavy and not letting me drag it, if I lift my hips up, it's much easier to bring this across. And now from here, I'm going to close this gap by grabbing his lat here. This stops my opponent getting their arm back here, because if I just lay back down, he's going to slide his arm back. Okay, so I drag this arm, I'm going to reach around here and keep his posture down with this. Now my left foot is going to come onto his hip. And from here, I think about lifting my hips into his armpit and keeping this tight. Now from here, I'm going to think to get my right heel over this shoulder if I can, as I turn a corner. So, and I'm active here, I'm not laying on my back. It's very hard to move if I'm laying flat on my back. So lift, think about getting that heel over and push off that left hip to turn this corner. From here, I'm going to make sure I'm trapping the arm, and then I need to step my left leg over. But if I don't move the head, it's very hard to do. So from here, I'm going to go from having my hips lifted with this foot to hamstring curling and keeping his posture down, which also keeps my hips lifted here. Then I'm going to push his head, step this leg over, and then from here, I want to grab the wrist, or I can keep his wrist behind my shoulder, and then I just need to start lightly bridging up towards the ceiling. But if I'm not lifting my hips the whole time here, it's very easy for them to just slide their elbow back out, and then I'm in trouble. So the whole time, we want to think, when we've got this arm, keeping your hips lifted. All right, even when I switch here, I don't just, as this foot goes to step over, I don't just let go. I keep this clamped down, which is going to keep his arm, and then we're pushing and stepping over. So really think about keeping your hips lifted when you do this. So again, I'm grabbing the wrist, and I think about this arm drag. Sometimes they bury that wrist, so lift, drag, reach over here. Okay, I've got the arm hugged in, nice and trapped. Then my foot goes on his hip, and I'm lifting my hips here into his armpit. Then turn that corner. It's probably the hardest part to get, but we'll do a drill for that in a second. Now I'm clamping this heel over his far shoulder. This is going to take my weight now. Now I push on the head, step over, and then keep the wrist behind the shoulder to lift my hips. Or if you set up a little different, we're making sure I've got the wrist here like a baseball bat. His thumb's pointing up, so I know I'm hyperextending his elbow. Then I just start to lift to get that armbar finish. Try this basic back take from a closed guard position. So I'm going to grab the wrist, I'm punching my arm nice and high up the back of their arm, and then I'm dragging their wrist across here for the arm drag. If I'm struggling to get that wrist across, if I lift my hips, it makes it much easier. Now I'm pulling the arm this way. Then I'm reaching for the lat here to close this space as I open my feet and shrimp out to the side. I make sure my chest's here, blocking them from getting their arm back to this side of their body. Build up to my elbow, and then I start to think about getting my hips all the way around here whilst I keep everything nice and tight. So I start to come around. I want to think to get this knee in the front of their hip as I come around. My first hook goes in, then my second hook goes in, then I'm thinking to get a seat belt, and then we can start to turn to take the back here. What might happen sometimes when you're going for this back take from close guard is they might hug the leg so that you can't get that first hook in which case we're going to turn them over to an S mount or mount position. So again, I go for my arm drag, bring it across, I'm reaching for the lat, coming up to my elbow, and I'm coming around here. They've felt the back take coming, so I can't get this leg out. It makes it quite hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook my foot around the hip here so I don't sprain my ankle on the way. Then I'm going to get my spine in line with my shin. So I need to walk my hands around. Then from here, I'm kicking this leg back as I walk my hands back. And they end up falling back here. And then I'm kind of in this S-mount style position where we can go for arm bars, or we can just settle for our mount position here. We start off in close guard. Okay, I'm going to grab my partner's wrist, and then my opposite arm's going to punch under. And then from here, I'm dragging his wrist over to work towards this arm drag. Okay, if we're struggling, again, as we've said in the other videos, if I lift my hips here, I can then bump it through. Okay, then immediately I'm going to reach around for the lat here. Now from here, we've looked at a back take video and an arm bar video, but if my opponent is driving their chest into me here, that's stopping me getting out to take the back. So we're going to switch to the pendulum sweep. So from here, I keep the lat nice and tight, and then I'm going to use my left foot here to push off his hip. My right hand is going to reach under his far leg. I need to keep pulling him in tight here so we can't get this arm back. If I have this arm and I sweep him that way, he can't base. So now I'm going to punch under the hamstring here. This hand's trying to answer the phone. So I'm bringing this hand towards my ear, and now I've turned this corner. Then my left leg's going to kick out in this direction. Once we get to the point where I can't kick it out anymore, I'm going to use my right hamstring to push onto my opponent to send them over. Then I kick my left leg away so he doesn't land on it. We go over, then I come up and I land in a strong mount with the arm dragged so we can get the arm bar if we want.